The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry. Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more. But it's so absorbent, you can use less. So it's always worth it. Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn. Embrace.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
What's up, fam? Today is the 26th of January, 2022. What's going on with y'all? What's good? It's crazy to think of it. A good week is you don't have to say nobody passed. Ain't that nothing? It's just insane. But it is what it is. I didn't lose no friends this week that I know of, but hey, it's only Wednesday, right? So as we get into some things today, I got a phone call from somebody. Hopefully he gonna show up. He want to discuss the plight of these young our people. So we're gonna get into that. as well as some other things, because as you see, I ain't talked about Law and Order in a minute, so I'm gonna discuss a little bit of that. But first, everybody entitled to their belief system, and I'm so cool with that. You gotta all have your belief systems. Belief system become a problem when they start imposing on other people's free will, or again, you feel the need to shame. I was talking to some people the other day, and it's crazy, they such conspiracy theorists that every time somebody died, the first thing they want to know is did they get the shot? Which is amazing to me. Because if they didn't, then it's something else. And if they did, it's, what's up with you, brother? It's always connected to the shot. And I'm just trying to understand how that narrative plays out. You don't ask them if they had sex with somebody with HIV. You don't ask if they were drug users. You don't ask if they had their seatbelt on. You don't ask if they ate chicken. You don't ask if they eat healthy. Your first go-to is, did they get the shot? Like, the shot is killing so many people. And then the conspiracy theorists want to tell you how many people it's killing. But I'm gonna just speak from my personal standpoint and a couple of people I talk to, because y'all know I like to talk to random people. Most people I know don't know nobody who died as a result of taking a shot. But most of them know somebody who died from COVID. So I'm just trying to figure out, no matter what your stance is, why is that your go-to question? Why can't you just let them be dead and send your condolences and move on? Why does it have to be connected to it? Because in your world, everything is connected to COVID. And I'm all for having debates and intelligent disagreements. But we see death on a regular basis, and they ain't blaming everybody with COVID. Some people just die of natural causes. Some people die because they old. But when you got a conspiracy theory going on, everybody got to be dying for a reason that you think, because the government got a plan to kill off people that don't mean nothing, or they killing off people at random. Stop with the madness. Stop with the madness. Oh, they asking you questions about did you have a shot? Ain't nobody asking you questions about who you had a shot. Businesses got the right to do what businesses do. And if they want you to prove that you had the shot to come in, they got a right to do that. If you don't like it, do what all y'all keep complaining about doing. Start your own business, start your own restaurant, start your own venture, whatever it is. And do that. But don't complain about other people doing, because you want everybody to respect your thought process. But in the meantime, in the between time, you don't want to respect nobody else's thought process because you're woke. And I hate that word. But you're conscious. And I hate that word. And you all these things, so you know more than anybody else. But what you got? You ain't got no land. You ain't raising your own food. You ain't got no money. You don't have no investments. You don't have nothing, but you're so conscious and you're so woke, and you can speak on things, but you're speaking on them from a place of ignorance and arrogance. So when we have conversations, know who can do what. All mechanics are not created equal. All doctors are not created equal. And people talk about, oh, doctors and nurses, this, they do this. So I had to do a little research. Scientists, not doctors, create most vaccines. Doctors just administer them. So when you're talking to get an explanation, know who you're talking to. Know who you're talking to. All doctors aren't the same. They all went to a baseline school, then they ventured off and did something else. Some going to eyes, some going to ears, nose, throat, whatever. General practice, whatever. So they don't all know that they don't all have the same level of expertise. So I ain't knocking nobody's hustle, but why would I talk to an ear doctor about a vaccine? What's his area of specialty? He got baseline knowledge. I'd do better off talking to a scientist. You know, it's kind of like talking about buildings and stuff like that. You need somebody who has done the engineering and the complex math, not just a math major, because it's different. But hey, do your thing. But again, all I'm saying is quit shaming people, trying to act like you better than them. because you heard something that you can't share because you got it from a super secret source, because you all that, you so connected. But when I look around, you ain't got nothing. And ain't nothing wrong with not having nothing. But for somebody who ain't got nothing, how you know so much and everybody's just coming, you giving you information? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm gonna say. So as we start talking about law and order, and I ain't gonna go deep into it because until my two guests show up, we seem to be having a problem. And sure, I was a cop, so I can't look at it through jaded eyes according to y'all, but facts are facts. The truth is the truth. Reality is still reality. You can say what's systematically done or systemically done. And again, we can all live a life based on blaming somebody else for things that we cannot get simply because we don't try because of something that happened years and years ago. Granted, we may not have the exact same opportunity as other races, but why don't we again? We done had a Black president, Black quarterback, bad head coaches. Oh, we don't have no Black owner. And I'm good with that. But when we say we don't have a Black owner of, let's just say the NFL, tell me the Black person that tried to buy a team that they turned down. See, we keep wanting to use a fake narrative to promote a false agenda. To say that somebody ain't allowed to do something, somebody got to try first. See, we didn't have a Black president, but some ran. Quite a few ran, so they weren't stopping. We just didn't vote for them. There was a time when there were no Black quarterbacks. There was a time when they were told that they couldn't play quarterback because of, see, then there was something going on. Then you had one who won. Then you had another one. Then boom, now you got a bunch of them. But if we all just keep following about what they won't let us do, and we bite on that narrative and we follow it, that's on us. Change requires work. It's easier to blame other people while you can't get ahead than to work to get ahead. See, Russell Wilson wouldn't be where he was if he just let them tell him he should play running back. And then once he got to play quarterback, he still had to work at his craft. Everybody's got to work to be that somebody special if that's what you want to be. If you just think it's going to happen to you and you're going to get the crowd racism for everything, then again, we're looking for excuses. I'm looking at sports, and I'm going to get back into Law and Order. But for those of you that follow sports, Barry Bonds didn't make it into the Hall of Fame. And I'm looking at everybody spraying racism because he Black. But they didn't let Roger Clemens in either, who just happened not to be Black. Oh, they let Mike Schmidt in. You're right, they did. But they still didn't let the pitcher dude in. Where's your racism? They ain't let Shoeless Joe Jackson in. They let Pete Rose in either. See, some things aren't what we make them out to be. It's just our pitching point, and we'll take whatever we want to try to push a standard that's not accurate, but then get mad at other people for doing the exact same thing. So when we get to Law and Order, and people want to claim that they know the law, they talk about what ain't fair. But when you ask them where they got it from, they start telling you about how they feel. So we have a post that was so popular, everybody having this uncomfortable conversation with their Black children, especially boys, about how to deal with police because the police are killers and yada, 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 yada. And I'm hearing all of it. I ain't finna knock it. There are some bad police out there. But and one is too many, but how many are there? So now we just saw a little 6-month-old boy get shot. Wasn't by the cops. A family in Cobb County had a dude walk up to the door shooting. Wasn't the cops. It's been like 7 or 8 shootings this week. Wasn't the cops. Now the cops been in some shooting. Don't get it twisted. But why don't we have these conversations about who we are friending, who we let in our house to end up robbing us. When we're gonna have those uncomfortable conversations? When we're gonna have an uncomfortable conversation about people who are in a circle who betray us? When is that coming? And that's the part of the legacy, so I'm gonna hold off on that one. But as we're dealing with law and order, you know, there was a post on the page about a carjacker who got shot. And amazing, there are some people who sympathize with him. And I look at some of these sympathizers, because you always got some people who just don't believe what they, and that's fine. Is shooting somebody for trying to steal your car too much? Depends on where you come from. If he had a weapon, he's trying to take your shit, the law says you can use deadly force to protect your property. Car is your property. They didn't have to shoot him. And we make excuses, and it's amazing how most of the excuses that we make, that we gravitate toward, always tend to be on the side of the criminal. Why is that? Why is it we would rather victim shame, you know, oh, he didn't have to shoot him. Not the boy didn't have to be out stealing. Clearly there's a good reason to steal. I don't know what it is yet, but clearly there is one. And we're sympathetic. They could have did this. They could have just gave up the car. They could get another car. And all those are true. But why should they have to get another car? And again, the law say what it say. There's ways to change the laws if you really don't like them. Guess what they require? That W word again, we got to go out and work and get this done. But we don't want to do that. We'd rather blame and put in the work. That's the crazy part. We start talking about law and order. These things are easy to read. I tell all the time, some of these cases, when people send stuff to me, I try to get them the best information that I can to start something with. I got a friend who is doing a hell of a job helping not innocent people, but people who were wrongly convicted, whether the sentencing structure was too wrong or whatever it is. And I'm gonna have her on the show in a couple of weeks. But the law says what it says. And if we read it, there are lots of times they don't say what we repeat, what we want it when we want it, but when we don't want it, we want to say something different. If my family member is the criminal, I want the law changed. Because I remember I did a show before, and a lot of y'all was cool with killing somebody who break into your house. Super cool with that. Y'all went on to what they might do theory. I ain't knocking it. I believe anybody who got the heart to break into your house, they should have the heart to get shot. It's an occupational hazard. So what do? You want to get shot, don't break in. So what do? Can't just make up your own rules and set them the way you want to because you want to. That's just not how it works. And then you're upset because something happens a different way, but you don't get the outcome that you want. You're upset. It makes no sense. And all we do is complain, but we don't want to put the work. Kid gets shot. Why he get shot? Because another dude, according to what's being said so far, y'all know I don't like to judge immediately, but because another guy, they having some kind of argument. So they shooting across Anderson Park. Little kid gets shot. Police got him. But from what I remember now, we want to police our own communities. Now, what I'm hoping, what I truly hope, is that we getting over this mentality of no snitching. I'm truly hoping that that's how he got caught so quick. That somebody snitched. Because it ain't snitching unless you tell him to stay out of trouble. Other than that, it's actually called protecting your community. But that's probably another conversation we don't want to get into, because when you're a criminal, you want everybody to buy into that no snitching thing so that you can stay on the run and keep doing things with this proximity BS that we like to say why things happen. You want the police to do something, but don't nobody want to talk to the police. So what can they do? Because you don't want to do nothing. So I'm just trying to figure out how that makes sense at all. When we're pushing a false agenda, that makes even less sense. So who can help me out with that? Who can help me out with that? It's got to make sense to somebody for us to keep pushing that same BS over and over and over and over and over and over. Why is that? Why? But we're mad at the cops because they have to do this, they have to do that, they have to do this, they have to do that. What are we gonna do? Units will run down, our boys run them up. Travis gonna join me in a minute. We're gonna talk about some solutions. But the base solution is if we ain't in a position to take care of our own, then why are we even having these crazy conversations about who we don't want running stuff as we do nothing for us? Nothing but whine and complain and talk about a system that we don't put enough positivity into, but we find tons of energy for negativity. How does that work? See, when you want it to work for you, you make crazy statements like, if you ain't a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So when I ask y'all what y'all doing to change it, I get crickets. But when you talk about what somebody else should do, oh, they should be doing this, they should be doing that. And most of us are guilty. When you move out of a situation, especially the older you get, you become more prior, you become more focused, and you have a bigger priority for your family. So you ain't doing as much as you could be doing or should be doing or none of that. Simply because you're not. You're refocused. Your priorities are different. So then what? Who's supposed to pick up the slack other than the cops that you don't want to deal with until you're a victim? And then your folk telling you, don't bring in the cops on this, man, we got you. But they're the ones who let it happen. So make it make sense for me. I'm all ears. I'm all ears. And more than willing to hear what's going on. So I see my player partner done jumped on the scene. I want to introduce y'all to Mr. Evans, you know. So I'm gonna let Travis introduce himself, and we're gonna talk about this twice because he got a show on Tuesday. We're gonna mention it now, then we're gonna mention it again before we wrap up. So go on and say hey to the folk, Travis, before we get started into this.
Hey, I'm sorry for my tardiness, but I didn't get anything. I didn't get a link or anything because you sent it in a group message, and that's why it never came to me. So I'm not a part of that group, so that's why I didn't get it. But what's going on, everybody? How is everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody had a pleasant and blessed week so far. Pleasant and blessed week so far. My name is Travis G. Evans, and like I say on my show, I don't run. You guys, if you got everything we want to talk about, we will talk about it. So I have a show called The Point. It's on every Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys want to get with me on that, you can inbox on the chat and I'll give you the link, or I can give you the name of the show. You come to Facebook on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. and listen. It's one of those shows that it's not for the faint of heart. It's not your grandmother or grandfather's show. So if you want to hear what we got to say, you're going to get it raw, uncut, delivered straight to you with no chaser. And it's going to be the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts, and that's the painful business that we deal with. So having said all that, pleasure once again being on the show. Ready when you are, Brother Bell.
Travis like to be a shit starter, and I'm cool with that because when it's appropriate, I'm all about the shits. But more importantly, and for me, I'm all about the shits when there's a misrepresentation of something because I don't like it. I will never just be a free follower because you sound good. I will listen. I visited one of my play sisters a couple of weeks ago, and her boyfriend was saying something to me. He had this pro-black movement going on, talking about everything that's wrong, and my sister's like, I'm gonna just tell you who he is now. He gonna listen, but until you come with some facts, he ain't gonna get into no emotional-based conversations with you. No, Deb, you're supposed to be look at your inbox. You're supposed to be in the room with us, not on the page. So I'm with that. We can debate and talk about and share different perspectives. Me and Travis had a conversation earlier, which is why I invited him on the show. A lot of our beliefs are based in KT&E, which for the police, they know that means knowledge, training, experience, because Travis' experiences ain't mine. So there are a lot of things that we're not gonna have the same outlook on. It don't mean neither one of us is wrong. It just means we have a different perspective based on life skills and life experiences. And that's one of the things that we have to respect from the general public. I can say things make this much sense. I can walk you down that path, but this path I'm walking you down is a path I've lived. I want to say Zell Miller, I don't know who it was, but I went to a thing a long time ago, and a man said something that stuck with me. And I don't know if he stole it, I don't care. But I remember this. Don't never judge a man don't judge another man till you walk a mile in his shoes. You don't know why he made the decisions he made. They weren't your decisions. Hell, me and Travis may both order out. I get Chinese, he get pizza. Which one of us is wrong? Well, if I wanted Chinese and he wanted pizza, ain't neither one of us wrong. But for the person who's trying to tell us we should eat healthy, who are you to tell me how I should eat? Who said I ain't healthy? And that's what we try to push an agenda on other people based on ignorance and arrogance, because we ain't looking at reality. We just, I want him to look like me. Why? Travis got hair, so I'm already mad at him. I don't even like talking to people who got hair, and it's still black. But that don't mean he a bad dude. It just mean I don't mess with him because he Taliban. I talk to bald head brothers because we got commonality. So when me and Travis was talking, there were some things that we didn't agree on, and I was telling Travis part of that is just because our experiences are different, and it's going to cause us to have different perspectives and different outlooks. Don't mean neither of us is wrong, which is why I like having guests on the show who don't agree with me, because I can talk and agree with my damn self. One something about it, I ain't never been in a damn decent argument with me. It's just not going to happen. Anytime you arguing with yourself, you got an issue. You already know you shouldn't do it. If you got to convince yourself now, don't get it twisted. Sometimes I got the devil on one side and his first cousin on the other side. I'm trying to pick the lesser two evils. It ain't even about right and wrong. I'm the one finna do wrong. So when me and Travis were talking about law and order, which is what we want to get into first, there is a problem with the system, in my earnest opinion. But the bigger problem is with the community. And you missed this part, Travis. And I'm gonna find a thing. I put up a thing because I believe in community policing. I believe each and every community should have their own misdemeanor court, where citizens in that community can help keep people out of the system should they abide by the terms. Let's just say, for shits and giggles, Travis got a son. Travis' son is playing baseball. He break my window. Now, we could try to do this the correct way. And I say, Travis, your son broke my window. Travis gonna say, well, ain't you got renter's insurance? See, now we beefing. Now we beefing. Because I shouldn't have to pay for one that Travis' son broke, but that's what we beefing. So we take it to community court. The judge say what he say, whoever, because then we're gonna let the elder decide. The elder say, hey, your son need to pay to have that window fixed or cut their grass for 3-4 weeks, whatever. If they do it, then it's all to the good. It's in the community. If they don't, because there's still a record of it, and the person, the offender, and I just use Travis' son, we're gonna say he's 18 for argument's sake, chose not to, now we can put him in the system. See, that's what we can do as a people. It won't work for felons unless they like, nonviolent. But it's an easy process. But again, it calls for that thing that we don't want to do. We don't want to put in the work, the time, and the effort. Go ahead, sir. Sir.
Can you hear me, right?
Yeah.
All right. Real simple. What you just gave was a classic example of conflict resolution. That's classic. I mean, but we don't. So for some reason, that doesn't exist in the majority of our society today. It doesn't exist. If my son breaks your window, today in an aspect of people that are, let's say, younger than us, then these kids today, they don't believe in trying to work it out and say, yeah, my bad. How much it costs for the window, I'll pay for it. Or no, we're gonna sit up there and we'll come up with some kind of stupid idea like, well, you shouldn't have had your window right there. I mean, that's the dumbest things some of the dumb things I've heard people say. I've seen people get in a fight in a parking lot, guy pulling out, guy hits him. The other guy that hit him should have braked, but the other one said, no, you should have pulled back in when you seen me coming. This is the dumbest thing I ever seen. We're not courteous anymore. We're not respectful anymore. Damn sure don't respect our elders. So those are the things I'm talking. What you just gave was a classic example, but that doesn't exist today. You're right.
We saw this coming. We saw this coming 30 years ago.
Then that's called being proactive, right? Why didn't we put a stop to it?
Because we was hoping.
Hope? Oh my God. Hope.
See, because that's going to lead into your next one. Would you tell me that we quick to want to forgive shit?
Yep.
And to a fault. That's our fault, because when we don't want to forgive, then everybody want to get mad at us. And I'm all about forgiveness for breaking my window. I ain't finna forgive you not replacing it. Accidents do happen. Accidents do happen, but there's a way around everything. And part of it, and we're gonna go into, and that's gonna be the part we get into legacies. But so I'm gonna stick with Law Order right quick. When we talk about Law Order, like I said, there's a way to keep people out of the system. But as Travis said, one of the biggest things we got to do is we got to start being accountable, whether it's an accident. If you accidentally hit somebody's car, you're still wrong. Do the right thing. See, we can eliminate a lot of this pipeline stuff everybody keep talking about. See, we keep wanting to blame the police, but you know why you got to go to court now? Because Travis don't trust you to pay him. So he got to call the police, because too many of us have exchanged information with somebody only to find out that they lied to us, or they gave us bad information. So we put ourselves in a position where we have to use a system that we hate because we're distrustful, but we don't trust the system. And Travis I'm gonna blame this on Travis. The shooter out of Cobb County, he looked like us to me. He looked like he was black. He could have been something else. But he was out on bond, and they said, from what I heard, he had several charges that were the same. Travis, you do a show on this. Am I going up the right ladder?
You're going up the right ladder, yeah.
But don't they say we don't never get breaks?
They who?
Your cousins, them. Ray.
Yes, Ray and Pookie and Delonte, they say it too. All of them say it. They don't ever give us a break.
So I'm confused. Because here was a young man who got that third chance, fourth chance, fifth chance, and he was like, dude, I don't know why y'all keep giving me chances. I'm gonna quote the late great Hosea Williams. Hosea said something one time, because y'all know, any of y'all who know Hosea Williams, know Hosea had a problem with drinking and driving. And in one of his court cases, the judge said, "Why do you insist on drinking and driving?" Hosea said with the straightest of faces, "Why do y'all keep giving me my license back? Y'all know I ain't gonna stop." The judge just smiled at it, and he had a point. He showed you who he was. He is gonna drink and drive no matter how many times you tell him not to. If you don't want him to drink and drive, one something about Jose, he wouldn't drive without a license. He wasn't gonna do that, but he wasn't gonna not drink. And you know, that whole conversation is like trying to negotiate with a 3-year-old because they got you beat, because they got experience on you. Because if you can stop driving, why can't you stop drinking? Well, he liked drinking. So he blamed the driving on you, but he took responsibility. He ain't never say he wasn't drinking and driving. And he ain't never have a problem with admitting that he was doing it. But he wasn't gonna take responsibility for that license part. But we as a people don't want to take responsibility for nothing, but we keep wanting us to be better. And the bulk of me and Travis's argument was how we don't want accountability and responsibility. We just want to keep looking for somebody to blame. You know, the black man is in jail because he was raised by a single mother. The black man is in jail because he didn't have his daddy there. So, and I'm gonna let Travis talk on this, but let me just ask a question. If we're gonna push that narrative, if the black man is in jail so much, then what makes him a good father figure? What makes you think that if he's out with his mentality, he won't produce more or better criminal? Go ahead, sir.
That question's loaded, by the way. I just want you to know that question's loaded. But I'm gonna go ahead and address it. Now, it's all about accountability and responsibility. I'm gonna say that. And I know there's gonna be some women on here that's not gonna agree with it, but y'all gotta understand, y'all supposed to be the backbone, the matriarchy. Y'all supposed to understand, if this dude is a piece of garbage, and you know he's a piece of garbage, why you wouldn't even let him near you? That's me. He's a piece of garbage. He's telling you, I'm sorry, I can't stay out of jail. I can't stay out of trouble. I can't be a good role model for a child. Then why are you procreating with this fool? I mean, there's got to be somebody out there that's in a line with what you have, as far as what you're trying to set, the path that you're setting for your family and the rest of your life. There has to be somebody out there. If it's not, then don't worry about being single. Don't worry about it. But these dudes, some of these guys are pathetic losers. And these guys get more action than I've ever seen in my life. All you need is an earned felon number, criminal history, and you in there, baby. You in there. Guys with PhDs.
What if he's been evading the system?
I'm not blaming the system.
No, I say, what if he has been evading the system? So ain't no red flag. Remember now, and like I said, me and Travis had a discussion earlier. What about the first time? What about the first time dad? And this gonna go into legacies, Travis. So I want to stay on Law and Order until the second half. So I don't want to get into that part too quick.
The kids are a casualty, by the way. They're a casualty of war. Just so you know.
Are they casualties, or are they being programmed to be the future criminals of tomorrow?
Well, if the daddy's in prison or the daddy's dead or he's nowhere to be found, how can we say that he's grooming them? If that child is staying there with mama and multiple siblings, different daddies, and still no father figure or male figure in the house, that kid is going to grow up exactly the way the streets want him to grow up. And the streets are going to groom him to be the exact same example of what we're having a problem with 30 years ago.
And this is where we have a stark disagreement, because if we go with that theory, again, that means we have no free will. See, I was raised by, and see, this is what me and Travis be. I was raised by a single mother. And I have lots of male friends who were raised by single mothers. And they did a great job. They didn't do, could they have done some things better? Absolutely. I can say that in hindsight, because there's nobody who's been a parent that has not faltered or made some major mistakes, because they're learning on the job. They can't be perfect. You know, as great as my mom did things, it didn't, what got me out of a life of crime, because I was good at it. Lord knows I was much better being a criminal than I was a cop. The first real lie I ever told was to my mother about my criminal activity. I didn't like lying to her. And we're not talking about little base lies about, me going to bed on time. So the first real lie I ever told my mother was about my criminal activity. I felt bad because I honored her. I worshiped my mother. That in and of itself got me out of criminal activity. She introduced me to guys who tried to put positivity in my life. But what we do is, and I tell mothers this, you can't pick role models for your kids. They got to pick their own. You have to vet them after they pick. Because you can bring anybody around me you want to. If we don't click, we don't click. And I ain't gonna listen to them. But she tried. And I think one of the memes is true. Sometimes as little boys, we get so used to seeing our mothers with so much on their back, we think that's the standard. And we in turn do the same thing. Because she got a choice now. She could become a revolving door trying to find the right guy to see who ain't lying. Or she could shut that door down and just do what she can while we missing out on something. So that's where at some point, hey, Dr. Deb, Travis, you know Dr. Deb? She worked for Fulton County.
Man, she looks very familiar.
Yeah, she retired with me, but now she does child psychology. That's why I want her so she can tell us some of the psychology behind what we're talking about.
Okay, can I, when you finish, can I say what I got to say? Because I would love to hear from her.
Go ahead, do your thing.
Well, once again, the status in the situation is literally the same, but we got to go with percentages. And what we know is our young men today, not young men back when we were kids, not young men back then. These kids today are a whole new breed of criminal. They're a whole new breed of menace. And it's because of the parenting. It's because of where they originated from. It's because of that. We got 40% of our young men are on a path to incarceration or death. The other 40 are wearing dresses. That leaves 20% of our young men that are actually out there getting away from the nonsense and doing successful stuff. That's why men are such short. That's why men are so short in demand today. There are not very many men out there. So it really looks as if in some instances, our women don't really have very much of a direction to go in because the pickings are mighty slim. We don't have a whole lot of men out there today. Now, you said earlier, we got into that, and that's what started our first debate. You said it's because we got a lot of women that are lesbian that are going that direction too. So that should bring the percentages down. I don't know how that you can do that, what kind of calculator you could use to do that. But once again, the whole concept of parenting is out the window. It's gone. So when kids do stuff wrong, the first thing you want to do is what do you call it? Plausible deniability. What do you call it? Used to call that? Well, it's not, I had nothing to do with it. It's the school system. They not doing this. It's the government. They're not doing this. It's the police departments. They're killing our young black men. It's always an excuse. But your child is out at 2 o'clock in the morning, carjacking people. He gets killed by the police, and it's their fault. That's where I'm saying it was plausible deniability. I think that's what it was called. Forgive me if I said it wrong. But those are things I have to look at. Worked in the prison system for 12 years. And I sat down and talked to some of these young cats, so many of these young men, they all had the same story. My coward ass daddy wasn't there. My daddy, I don't know who my daddy is. My daddy in the prison up on the other side of the state. My daddy is this, my daddy's that. But I never ever heard him one time and say, and my mama wasn't nothing either. Or my mother didn't do this, didn't do that. I never heard that. But so we have to go with the narrative that it's all the men's fault. And that's what I'm trying to get away from. Let's make it 50-50.
It ain't 50-50 though.
No, it's not.
And it should never be 50-50.
I mean, it's not, but why? Why not?
How many women have you heard asking for submission? How many women have you heard say, hey, can you get me pregnant? And I promise I ain't gonna never go nowhere. See, that's a narrative that men push. Men want to get a woman pregnant. Men want women to submit, and then men leave. Men do dumb shit to go to prison. How many, I mean, and don't get me wrong, the rates of women is going up going to prison, but women don't ask for the same things. Men do this. So how can they be more responsible? Because again, if we use simple metrics, and I'm gonna use Dr. Dale for a minute. Dr. Dale at best can only get pregnant twice a year. Where Travis and Darren can get a woman pregnant every day. So we can do way more damage, and we do. We are way more reckless. Women are hoping because that's what they do. And we feed them that hope and lie to them. So
if they know that, then why do they?
They don't know it though, Travis.
Why do they constantly let these fools put them in a situation that they can't get out of?
They don't know they fooled until they fool. Travis, when we use the example of me and you the best two examples, because we on the show. How many times you been married, Travis?
3.
I've been married 3 times, and Trina watches from wherever she's watching from. So if Trina know that I'm a 2-time divorcee, if she goes with the flags, Trina shouldn't do nothing with me because it's proven that me and marriage don't work. So does she go with that, or does she hope that she's gonna be different? Remember, as the thing said, you can go out with the same person, but not go out with the same person. Everybody's gonna have a different effect on you. So you can't necessarily use what you see as an indicator. Dr. Deb is a great example. We got along good, and she may know me a little bit longer than you. If Dr. Deb, when she was with the county, had stuck with the narrative about what the people said about me, she would have never been friendly with me because I wasn't a guy to be friendly with. Everybody knew I was a troublemaker if you go with the narrative.
I heard the same thing, but you know what? I had
and
to
it was
find
true.
it out for myself. I had to find that out for myself.
But it's true, Travis. I can't deny it.
No, but I knew how to approach you now. I knew exactly, once I learned everything, I knew how to approach you. And
all you do is say, hey. So, Dr. Dale, come and give us some of the psychology behind what's going on with one. Why do we feel the need to blame one person over the other? And see, nobody wants to accept accountability or responsibility.
That was my point when Travis said, 50-50, or it can't be, and you said it can't be 50-50. This is collective. This is collective. You can hear females say, I want to have his baby. Okay. I want to have his baby, but what else? What else is there? I have clients that say, and I'll ask this question straight out. Do you know who your daddy is? No, I don't know who my daddy is. My mama says it's this person, but I don't know. So this is collectively. This is not her, him. This is all of us together. If we keep pushing that same narrative, like we see on with Dancing with the Stars, that a star can go have a baby and it's going to be taken care of because the mate is a moneymaker or a millionaire or billionaire, or he's a big time rapper or whatever. That's a falsehood. That is truly a falsehood. When you talk about, I talked to a kid today, and my question was, he's wearing an ankle monitor. And so I shared with him my time in the jail, that my time in the jail, everybody that I worked with looked just like him. So I asked him, describe what I'm saying. He said they were young, bingo. He said they were Black, African-American, bingo. And they were out there doing dumb stuff. So who you gonna blame? You gonna blame the mama? You gonna blame the daddy? You gonna blame the absence of the daddy? This is collective. And I have said this before. We have gotten away from the village concept. The village is part of what helps you raise your kids. I don't want you saying anything to my kids. I don't want you, I send them to school and it's the teacher's fault because the kid is not learning. But it's collective. And we have gotten away from that collectiveness to figure out what the problem is and where we should go from here. You got dudes running down Anderson Avenue shooting at each other and shoot a kid, shoot a baby. Back in my day, that was unheard of. Okay.
They don't understand the OG standard, but that's a whole nother segment.
But that was unheard of. I would like to see, this has always been my thought. I have a kid that wants to be part of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. He has a volatile mama. He has a volatile grandmother. The grandmother is raising him. He needs a male figure in his life to help him figure out how to navigate this system that he's in, that we're in, you know. So I would like to see more of my brothers say, hey, you know what? I'm going up to the school. I had a parent one year that the son's phone got stolen, and the dad came up to the school raising hell. How can somebody steal my son? How y'all let somebody steal my son's phone? So I took the dad and the son to the side. I took them in my office. Okay, let's talk about it. Son, where was your phone? I laid it on the table. What table did you lay it on, son? I laid it on the table in the cafeteria. Were you watching it? No. And I'm looking at the dad like this. Dad, you want to argue about a phone. So I invited the dad to come to the school. I said, all I need you to do is come during lunchtime and just observe. Just stand in the hallway and observe. And I said, I'll buy you lunch for that day. My point for him doing that was because I wanted him to see. I wanted him to actually see and experience what goes on every day in a predominantly African-American school before you point the finger at the teacher, the principal, the resource officer, or anybody. Because collectively, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. So we have to figure out collectively, how do we solve this? What do? Do we just let them, you know, we just keep turning our head? We keep getting on next door, fussing about it, or pointing fingers, or, you know, we get on Facebook and say, oh, that's so sad, that's a shame, you know, but what are we gonna do? That's my thing, let's do something. And marching ain't gonna do it. You know, we've been to enough marches. Marches is not gonna do it. We have to collectively figure out a plan of action in order to get these kids back from where they are.
And this is where I guess me and Travis mostly collide, because I'm gonna put the bulk of that still on the male species, because they always demanding to be the leader. They always demanding. Women don't demand leadership, and I can't get mad when women don't trust sometimes, because they've been lied to by people who said they wouldn't, and they become more distrustful. Now, don't get it twisted. There's some parents who ain't worth shit. We know this. Right. You remember you brought me a lady who her excuse was she let her son get away with stuff because she felt guilty because the dad was missing.
Right.
So we can't keep holding them accountable because they feel guilty about their mistakes, while the guys go off and live their best life and forget all about their kids. So when we get to this village that everybody swears they want, but don't nobody want to be a part of, because we don't want to share our kids. You know, I did a post a year and a half, and two women, one was a counselor. I was like, you know, if you and the son's father broke up and he started dating a woman, they were serious, how would you feel about your child calling his new girlfriend, his new wife, mama? These women was going ham. The psychologist said she would put her child out the house. So it ain't about how the child feels. It's about you upset because your child called somebody else mom. Whereas me and Dale, Travis, you old too. We are old school. Most of us got 3, 4, 5 play mamas, people who looked after us, and our mamas didn't sweat it. But now nobody wants to share that title because we don't want this village. We like the way it sounds. But we don't want our kids calling nobody else mama or dad, but we cool with everybody being cousins. But if they taking good care of your kid and they showing them right from wrong and they being a positive influence, what difference do it make what they call them if your kid is getting that benefit? We got a problem with, we like to compete for the dumbest of reasons. We'll compete for a title, but we ain't doing nothing. But the lady was like, yeah, my child ain't calling nobody else mama. But I've heard dudes do the same thing. Hell, I've been the bonus dad, and I hear the other dad saying, that MF ain't your dad. You call him by his name. So it ain't one sex, but it's one sex who is always demanding to be the leader, who always demanding to be submitted to. So when we build in this village, remember I said, when me and you go out, we don't know who looking at us. We got to put our best foot forward and see who comes to us. You know, when I talked about the little boy who came and sat in my yard with me, the white boy, just talking. I can't push him away because he ain't my son. I can't push them away. And this is where we have to, as I ain't made as parents, but as a collective, we do have to step up. But who gets the blame for that? Because most boys are looking for a positive role model. Don't have to be their dad, because I'm a firm believer that dads are toxic as mothers can be. We gotta let them and vet who they pick, because we've proven through our history they've done made some bad decisions. Travis, me and you done made bunches of bad decisions. So how does the vetting system work to know when the decision ain't gonna be bad? Because Deb got her detractors who don't like her. I don't know how nobody can not like Deb, but she got people at the counter who don't care for her, because everybody don't receive you the same way. So the vetting process is sketchy at best, because how do you meet somebody? You know, we lie about first impressions, which ain't nothing, because I don't even remember how I met most people first at a time. Anyway, Trina. So, but how does the vetting? How do we make this vetting process work? Because there are people who will tell you that D's a great guy. You know, there are other people who will tell you don't ever turn your back on him, because he ain't gonna stab you in the back. He gonna grab you and pull you close to him and stab him. And they both are right. So how is that vetting process gonna work? Travis, unmute yourself first, sir.
I heard a lot of background noise. I want to make sure it wasn't me. Oh. The vetting process, I never said it was a fix-all. It might be a momentary or short-term solution to the problem, but vetting to me is better than doing nothing, and better than sitting around hoping for 30 years. I'd rather do something than be called let it be called a failure than to sit on your butt and do nothing and then have everybody tell you how much of a failure you are. We got to do a better job. And that goes for both of us. And I agree with Doc said. Doc said that it should be everybody's fault. But I'm telling you, the consensus is it's not everybody. It's all men. Men do this. Men create these problems. Men make all these babies and run. Men do it. It's always us. And therefore, there's no respect. The black man is the least respected person in this country.
Oh, negative, Ghost Rider.
Oh, negative. Yes. The black man is the least respected.
I guarantee you, it's the black woman. Because ain't now black man walk between a crowd of black women and they all say worthless nigga. But I bet, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I bet women have walked between a crowd of black men and been called names that they wouldn't say to nobody else. So the disrespect, see, we keep wanting to be traps. We can't be kings and victims at the same time. We keep on this duality.
Bail is called sacrifice.
What's the sacrifice?
Black men have had to walk away from situations just so the black woman can be taken care of.
Travis, stop the madness. What situation they had to walk away from?
Just think about the welfare system.
Oh my God. Okay, Travis, go ahead. You don't want this smoke from that, Travis.
I guess not, because I've never been in the system, but I've talked to many people who have.
Travis, Deb, can you hear me, Deb? We're gonna use Deb on this one, because I did this poll too. The welfare system can't exist if I already got my stuff. Why would she have to be on welfare if I got a house? If I got a house and a job, why does my baby mama, my soulmate, need to go on welfare? See, she got to go on welfare because I ain't got shit. So now who's at fault? Because she ain't got to go if I got, ain't now person who ever been on welfare got pulled out of a stable home with her mate and told her to take money. These women don't want 30 cents on the dollar. Samuel Jewell, who got pulled out the house? When we watch all this, when we love to come to the streets, and I know what welfare was for, but again, tell me what they had to give up. Because if we already had everything in place, there was nothing for the woman to give up. She never had to apply for welfare. She applied for welfare because we wasn't taking care of her. Because, oh, I don't know if it's my baby. Oh, I don't know this. I don't know that. Travis, you say your grandparents was together 50 years, right?
53, I think.
So was your grandmother on welfare?
No.
Why not?
Because she had a husband.
Who had what?
Had a job.
A place to live already. He had a place to live.
Right.
See, if you're in a hobo ship and I move in with Deb and then I don't want to do something, see, now Deb gonna get us, but she ain't being removed from my house. She's just kicking me out of her house. If I already got my stuff.
But if Deb was on government assistance and they found you there, she would lose everything.
Why is she on government assistance if I got her pregnant? Why I ain't taking care of the baby?
Once again, that's the fault of both parties. It takes more than one person to create this chaos. They had to get together and create the chaos. They had to.
So again, how did welfare break up a family if the family was already situated? Give me a real life, for instance.
You talked about welfare. Do you understand what that was about?
Give me a real life instance where it broke up a household. I think Dale raised her hand.
You're getting welfare, and what do I need him for? Because I'm getting welfare. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Most of the time, welfare doesn't necessarily take care of where you live, but it might be a subsidy because now you qualify for assisted housing or whatever. Okay. So, you know, he's not doing anything. So what do I need him for? So the trade-off becomes you need to go because I got this. I got this. And so, like I said, the problem is collective. It is the way we think sometimes as females. I want to have your baby, Darren. You know, Darren ain't said nothing about having a baby. Travis, I want to have your baby. Okay. Travis ain't said nothing about having a baby, but I want to have your baby. Okay. Then I because quiet as it's kept, collectively, for real, it's on me whether or not we get a baby. It's on the female whether or not we get a baby.
100%.
Because I can stop that. I can stop that. I can put a stop to that. Okay. And if I don't, it's on me. But then what I do is once I had this baby, then I want to make you responsible for me. Part of the interaction, but not the agreement that this is what we were going to do. So it's collective. So even when it shows up, it's like me buying you a new car and saying you're going to have to pay the car note. Hell, you didn't ask for a new car. Well, I got to pay the car note. You bought me the car, you pay the car note. So it's across the board. But here again, we sit and we want to blame him or we want to blame her, when collectively, if we look at how we have operated in the past, okay, if we look at how we have maneuvered through this thing in the past, you will see that collectively 50-50, okay, 50-50, it is all of us. It is all of us, male, female.
But I'm gonna go back to my original point because where a mother left the house, where they left the family house to get on welfare. It wasn't made for us. We found out how to exploit it as well, and that's what happened. But what family did it break up? See, men will use that, and these same men, if you follow their Facebook page, you'll see them living their best life every weekend. You'll see them saying they buy diapers once a month. You'll see them doing crazy stuff. See, because you can't find good men who complaining about it because they taking care of theirs. But the dudes who paying, and remember, Travis, we had this conversation, these dudes who paying $100 a month, they all complaining about, oh man, she did. You paying $100 a month, bro. I'm not listening to nothing you say, nothing. I don't know no baby that can survive off $100 a month. So when we keep comparing these two narratives, who are we talking about? See, I could compare every woman to the woman that Dale brought me, who was in our Scared Straight program that Dale got me in trouble for. She wasn't prepared, but there were other women who were. So which woman am I using as my baseline? Because we can't keep picking the bottom of the barrel. Roy said, it said we lost signal. We can't keep picking bottom of the barrel though and using them as a standard. We got to look at what's real. There are, like I say, I was raised by my mother. She ain't never been on welfare. I know plenty of single mothers who never got on welfare, whether it was due to pride or whatever it was. Some didn't want the government in their life. And we as men got used to seeing women overdo stuff, and we thought that was the norm. But how many guys can we point to who overdid stuff to take care and raise their child on their own? So I agree it's collective there. I just ain't gonna agree that it's 50-50 because men are demanding more and doing the least and complaining the most because they came victims. You can't have it both ways. Trina is my queen. I run this. I am the breadwinner. Period. Trina ain't finna leave this house to get 30 cents on the dollar. She ain't got to. This ain't no hobo shit. We entered into a real relationship, but if she would have vetted me, she would have never came because she would have seen that I was unstable based on my past. So when we use these scenarios, that's why I say, show me a family that broke up because of welfare. Other than, because we'll keep repeating this narrative, but we can't give no examples. We gotta have an example of somebody we know that it broke up a family.
Well, you threw a from the hip question at me, so therefore I couldn't just give you an example off the hip.
You made the statement, brother.
Because it is actually a true statement. Every woman,
but if it's true, then you got to be able to prove it.
I have met on welfare is on welfare. There was no man around.
Where was the man when she got pregnant? Was she living with him?
I didn't go that far in the conversation.
And that's the question you got to ask. Was she living with him, or was he just a visitor coming to do his thing who told her the basic lies?
Well, no, most of them had multiple children and they needed a place to stay and the government provided it for them. And certain things they can't do it. They can't have a guy living in there with them or they'll come off of it. I've had women tell me that. Multiple women have told me they can't have no man living with them.
So Travis, my brother, if I'm into this woman and she can't have a man living with her to get welfare, and I'm gonna be Kevin Samuels, I'm gonna be one of them Kevin Samuels dude. Now I'm a high value dude. And I can afford to bring into my castle. Why would she need welfare?
That's if you want to bring it, but how many men actually go trolling through the projects looking for a wife?
Why you gotta troll?
There's no women in the projects. What else are you gonna call it? If you're not out at, let's say, Club Hennessy, if there's such a club in Atlanta, looking for a good woman.
You're gonna get sued by Club Hennessy.
Okay, I just threw that out there. Club Hennessy.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Anything by it. But if you decide you don't want to go there, you're gonna go to Bowen Home and look for possible wife material. She's sitting up there giving you really no visible signs that she don't do anything but sit there and collect welfare and collect money for all of her kids.
But Travis, if I meet her while I'm at the mall buying me some cookies, and that's just where she happened to stay, how is that trolling? See, you're
right. You
keep taking worst case scenario, Travis.
You're 100% right. It's not trolling if you meet her at the mall, but if she's open enough to tell you her current situation, you can see the red flags right there. Why would you continue to say, yes, I want to drive you home, I want to see you later? Because we already know that if a woman's willing to have 3 kids, she ain't got no problem having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She ain't no problem. Therefore, if you go over there with her and you get caught in that situation, then that's all on you. You get what you deserve.
Then where you at?
I'm lying by saying that, but that's the truth.
That is not true, Travis.
If a woman's willing to have 4 kids, she's willing to have 8.
I don't know if I agree with that, Travis. But,
okay,
but I want to separate. I want to separate something because we keep saying welfare and the housing. Okay, the welfare was the funds, the food stamps, and the check. The housing is more the subsidized housing, like Section 8. Okay, that's the only reason you can't stay if the person is on Section 8. But if they get in welfare, if they get in food stamps, nobody comes to ask or look and say, well, how many people you got living in your house? So it's not a matter of somebody putting you out of the house or putting him out of the house, because the welfare and the subsidized housing are 2 different things, okay? Now, I don't know, Travis, about if she got 3, she'll have 8, okay? You know, we look at, okay, so let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to the daddy issues. And my daddy wasn't in my life. So now I go around looking for Mr. Goodbar, okay? Yeah. And I'm looking for Mr. Goodbar, who's gonna be partly my daddy and partly my man, okay? And I don't necessarily have anything that I can gauge Mr. Goodbar by, but having sex, okay? So I gauge Mr. Goodbar by having sex, and I end up with the baby, okay? But because I have not resolved those other issues, those other daddy issues, I continue to look for Mr. Goodbar. Have you ever read that book?
I love it when you say it like that.
Okay. I'll be looking for Mr. Goodbar. And when I don't find Mr. Goodbar, I keep looking. And at no time, well, I won't say at no time, when it gets to a point that you have to stop and say, why do I keep attracting the same thing? Why do I keep doing the same thing and getting the same results? Because that's called insanity, okay? And so at some point, the insanity kicks in, or should kick in. So she's already got 3, and 3 is Ralph, James, and John's, and they don't all of them don't belong to Travis or Darren. That's the problem. But what we do is we don't go into the situation and say, let me ask you a question, okay? You know, what were your experiences in your other relationships? How did they go? Because when you start asking questions like that, you'll get the answers that you know, that you should know. I might need to move on because she's looking for Mr. Goodbar.
But what if she ain't, and she been a product of her environment? We know.
She's in a what environment?
If she's a product of her environment. See, we can let environmental restraints control who we are.
Who sets the tone for the environment, Bill?
To what?
Who sets the tone and the standards for the environment?
Finances. Who set the tone, Travis?
What finances?
Travis.
You living in government housing, you get free food, you get, what finance?
And I don't know what your beef is with government housing, but Travis, there are a lot of
I don't have a beef with it, no.
But there are a lot of single parents who work and don't live in government housing. And that's why, you know, when we start talking about these latchkey kids, some of these parents are doing the best they can to not stay there. But when they got to make decisions, Travis, they don't have all day. And we keep saying, she this, but if it's a mindset, not a living arrangement, because some people want to do better. Some people don't. It's hard to tell who. So what I tell you before, men and dudes look exactly alike. Dudes know what to say to sound like men. They will promise a woman the world. How is she supposed to know? Because again, I married Trina. There were girls who I was dating. It's like, oh, I never thought you would have got married. And I wouldn't have got married to them. And I tell people all the time, marriage is like a lot of different things, partnerships and cooperations. You don't have your mind set on anything for me. But when you meet somebody who starts giving you these motivations and they start changing your mindset, you start changing the way you think. But if you don't know that, if you ain't never been around nothing, you don't know that other people think that way. You think that's what's normal. So at some point, you got to get them out of that environment, see better. One of the main reasons I love Atlanta is because you can walk down the street and see successful Black people anytime. You don't get that everywhere. Some people only see successful Black people on TV. Their mind is jaded. I had a friend who has never, ever left the metro Atlanta area. He don't know nothing. He pretty much is a hood dude, and that's his entire life. He think the world of Greenboro Mall. I can't get him nowhere. That's his mindset. Good dude, but he's got limited mental capability for excelling. So when we keep talking about these women in their environment, where they're living at now, she couldn't live there 30 years ago. She didn't have the finances. As she put her best foot forward and started moving forward, then we put on their Jefferson hat and we moved on up. I came from a bad environment. There were choices that I had to make. Who do I blame? Do I blame my mama? Do I blame the sperm donor? Do I blame the neighbors? At some point, when we telling this lie about we all grown, then we got to make grown decisions. You can't keep saying I'm grown, but everything else is somebody else's fault. A dude sent me an inbox, told me how I won't ever listen to a woman or follow a woman. Dude, where do you know me from? A lady sent me one time, I'm always talking bad about Black women. Tag me on the post, screenshot it. Because I use the term mud ducks, she made it sound like I was just talking about Black women. Ugly is ugly. It knows no color. But where y'all getting these things from? But based on their environment, that's what they heard. They made everything racial. But I ain't said that. You ain't gonna get me to talk bad about black women because I love them. But if that's their mentality, so when these women gotta make choices, what do they get to pick from? Because Deb was a psychologist. What's the most basic human need? One of them is human contact and interaction. We can't live without it.
Yeah.
So if you're in a position where you can't move about as you want because you're restricted, you ain't got no choice but to fulfill that basic human need, and it's with bombs.
Why is it bad? Why is it bad mouthing black women when you can tell them what you see? And this is an area we can improve, and then we can take that march somewhere else, and we can. Right now, we're in a situation, and you keep saying we're not, but it's black men versus the world. We everybody, and in some instances, our own women won't even back us. Some of them, not all. I want to make sure we're clear. So I don't want anybody to come and say I'm bad mouthing all black women. The black women that I'm saying the stuff that it's a critique, and it's what I see and what I observe. And all this stuff I'm talking about on my show, I got the same thing, Bev. I have women would hit the show and tell me I got something against black women. I'm gay. I'm all these other things because I see what I see. You meet a dude, move him in your house with your kids. You don't know nothing about this clown. He kills your child. And I had something to say about that. And people got mad at me because of the way I said it. It's still the same concept. It's just coming out of the barrel of a different weapon. That's all.
No, now see that one I love because I've talked about that one. And I challenge women. A parental father will very rarely move quick with letting a woman meet his kids. Women are much quicker to do it. So that is something I strictly blame on women. That's why I say everything to me is, there's responsibility that women got to take.
Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
and that's one of them.
Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
And it's funny, that's why I use Trina a lot. The whole time me and Trina were dating, I never met Trina's kids till we started talking about her coming to Georgia because there was no need to. We weren't at a point where we were looking at 2 years from now. Once we start having serious conversations, I met the kids. I took a week off and spent time with the kids because I need to know if these are good kids or not. Because I hate that dumb conversation about can the bonus parent whoop kids. If your kids need whooping, I don't need to be there. So I want to see how these kids are. I want to see how you are with them. But that's one of the things where you got to have we collectively, Dr. Dale, have to start having plans. See, we can keep talking about what we need to do next, but if we don't have something that people can follow, how do you do this? How do you do that? Because again, we all elicit different responses from people based on what we give out to them. Because, my son used to love this nurse that I couldn't stand. I hated her like I hated Chief Jones. But she was good. But she was good to my son, and he loved her. I tolerated her because of him. One day when he said he don't like her no more, I couldn't wait to call her a fat you-know-what until not to ever come around us again. But as long as she was good to my kid and he adored her, I was going to tolerate that. We don't have that compassion now because mothers are extra guilty of this, of wanting to be the sole caretaker and being the primary, which is great. But you can't always be there, especially if you're struggling and trying to do better. You got to put yourself out there, and your kids are going to do that. What's going on, Bishop Rob Lee Humphreys? I would talk bad about you on the show because you ain't called me back yet, but I ain't going to be petty today. I'm going to be petty tomorrow when I post about you. I'm glad to have you on the show. Go ahead.
Here's the other thing, okay? She'll talk bad about him, all right? Because he doesn't step up to the plate, but she'll talk bad about him to the kid. All right. It took my daughter 25 years to figure out that her dad was her dad. Okay. He was not all that he professed to be. I never said a word because that was not my job. My job was to make sure that he was exposed to her and she was exposed to him. But I never, even though in my mind, when she would say my daddy, my spirit would rise up and want to say something slick, smart, or whatever. So here again, you know, there's an opportunity not to bash the daddy, okay? Because he may not be equipped. And if he's not equipped, but you use the conversation with the kid and make the kid feel some kind of way. I know instances where the mother did it so long that the daughter didn't want to be bothered with the dad, and because of what the mother had said about the dad. But the kid was never given an opportunity to know the dad because of the mom. That's, again, why I say collectively, we're all wrong in some point, in some fashion. We're all wrong.
Are we wrong, or are we the victims of our bad decisions? Because some decisions, our parents are learning on the fly. They ain't had practice with this, and we say this, and again, knowledge, training, experience. What led to them making bad decisions? Was it watching somebody else and knowing half the story, or is it some mothers? Again, some mothers are super toxic. Some dads are super toxic. And that part is collective. But again, and I ain't gonna never change from this, as a man who, and I do want mine, you can't be a man and the captain of the ship part-time. If you want that role, you got to accept full-time responsibility with it. You can't just sit back and say, oh, when things go good, it's me. When it go bad, it's her. See, so, and that's why, that's the part I put on men, because that's what we do. We want these things. Now, do some women say what they'll say? Yeah, some women want to have your baby. But again, if you put it out there, ask women who have had babies, what did the baby daddy say when he found out you was pregnant? And more times than not, he gonna tell you about the great word he gonna give you, how he gonna be there forever. And 7-8 months later, he done changed his mind and flipped the script after the baby's born. Whose fault is that? She fell for everything he said, and he probably meant it when he was saying it. But he had to change her heart. That's not, I can't blame that on the collective, because she was hoping that he was going to be true to her, because she wasn't judging him on his past, because we all say, don't judge me by my past, yada, 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 yada.
Bill, that's generational with extra steps.
What's generational?
Generational with extra steps. Now,
what's generational?
The extra steps are simple. It's, once again, that's that non-accountability stuff. We've been playing this, we've been going back and forth with this same game for decades. And it's not getting any better. It's getting worse.
That's what some of us like though, Travis.
But it doesn't, why do we always have to accept everything because that's what my grandmama did, that's what my mama did, that's what my daddy did. Why do we have to accept that? Because it ain't working for us.
We believe the great American lie. When and I'm using you now because I know you ain't sensitive, but when you tell me your grandparents was married 50 years and how they did everything great. And again, I'm just using this as a narrative. And I tell people, I hear these stories all the time, but when one of them die, especially the granddaddy or the father, that's when you find out about all these half brothers and step brothers.
I'll just be ready to say it.
But when you see people making posts, they be like, why we can't have a relationship like our grandparents? It's like, you can. The other person knows their roles. What has happened was we don't know our roles because we keep redefining stuff on the fly. And Dr. Dale, my favorite person, but see, they got a profession now. See, she's a professional psychologist. Back in our grandparents' days, their side chick was a psychologist. See, now their side chick want to be a psychologist / and everybody start messing up their roles. And that's where, when the new school wanted to meet the old school, they never talked to each other. You know, when you watch the story about the elephants, and I hate to bring up elephants, the problem with elephants is, as poachers are killing off the male elephants, nobody's teaching the young male elephants what to do, so they running amok. But who's killing them? It's male poachers. So when we start talking about how we want to make this system work, either we as men, as a collective, have to truly understand that if we ain't gonna step up, let the women be the leaders without keep dragging them down. And women gotta understand, to be with a man, you gotta give up being the man. But it's an unhealthy mix, because if Deb ain't been nowhere, if Deb has just come from born home, that's all she don't know how to deal with a brother from Buckhead. It ain't her fault. It's just her experiences. So the first two brothers from Buckhead gonna catch hell because everybody in Bankhead, she got to fight, she got to cuss them out for them to understand everything because she don't know that there's a different world. That's not her fault. She's a victim of her surroundings.
Bill, let me say this.
Say this.
You made a statement a few minutes ago about let me see what it was about
you know, I don't remember.
He said he was gonna support her through the whole pregnancy. This is the problem I have, is not paying attention to the details, okay? And by that I mean the details in how this person, male or female, operates. How do they move? How, you know, what do their conversations sound like? You know, are they just talking about superficial things? Are they talking about their whole conversations about what's happening on social media, but not what's happening with the stock market? I'm just throwing that out. You know, their whole conversations are not about growth, but about, you know, minute, insignificant things. So we miss a whole lot of things. So at the point where he made the statement, I'm gonna be here with you, you know, for the baby and everything, at some point he figured out, probably, this ain't really what I want. But he should have been paying attention to the details, okay? He should have been looking at the backstory in the beginning, so it would not get to that point where, oh, now we got a third person involved in this equation, and he's getting ready to dip, and I'm left holding the bag.
And that's where the community comes in. Roy, who else is on the show? I see another person. Are they with us? But that's where the community comes in, because at that point, that's when the two toxic people come in, as Trina keep talking about. Now you got a mother who don't want dad to see his son.
Yeah.
And see, this one I know, because I heard a woman tell my brother that, why do you want to see your son if we ain't having sex? So I know they exist, but I also know women like Trina who will bend over backwards to let Zuri's dad see him. Even if we got to drive 4.5 hours to meet him halfway. So there's a happy medium. I can't take one extreme and let it be the norm. I've seen both sides. And that one dude who be like, oh, if I ain't getting on, I don't want to see my child. And I see too many of these dudes who living their best life, going to the club every weekend, ain't doing this, ain't doing that, but they always spend the money, just not on the child, because they don't want the mother to advance. They still want to control her. So my child don't need all this, why I got to pay for this? So we got that mindset, which is why I did a whole show on child support. You ain't paying for your child support. What you're doing is you're paying the mother back for money she already spent. So when Trina can't get her hair done because she took care of my son, she should be able to get her hair done when I get child support, because she used her money and she couldn't get it done. When my child was sick and needed medicine or wanted to play football and she had to pay for that stuff and Trina couldn't get her nails done, yeah, when I finally give her that $120, she should get her nails done because she spent her money up front. But we too busy being victims, talking about what she doing with her money versus what she doing with our child. See,
can we stop doing this whole thing with women that have, you said it was about finances. I don't know, and we were talking about people that stay in the projects. We were talking about that. Remember? Mm-hmm. Now, when you said that, now I think you're talking about women who are sustainable, probably college degrees, good paying jobs. You can't.
I'm still talking about regular women.
Yeah, but you can't compare them to the women that stay in the projects.
Why you can't?
The child support money they getting, if they go get their hair done, what money did they give up? What money did they give up?
You clearly don't know the numbers from welfare, do you?
I didn't know welfare was a paid check. I thought actually it provided housing, food, everything was done electronically.
Yeah. I want
they got actual cash in their hands. I didn't
remember. I just told you now, welfare paying about they paying about 30-40 cents on the dollar. That's why you don't. Despite the rumors of them, these welfare queens, you see them not living up to standards. You got someone who hustle the system, but most of these women are struggling because welfare got restrictions on a lot of stuff they can and can't do, which is why most women don't want to be on it. See, here's a red flag for you. When a woman is looking forward to being on welfare, you need to run from her. If she think that that's a come up, that's all she gonna ever be. But most women don't want to be on welfare. Other than Food stamps is a come up. Other than food stamps, there is no benefit to being on welfare. See, I've been one of them Section 8 runners. They still got to pay a portion.
Yeah,
they got to pay a portion.
Most of finances, that's what threw me. Because
right, but I'm saying,
figure out what finances are they getting?
Exactly. So if you ain't doing nothing, then they gotta put out more. So even though they getting food stamps, which is why they selling food stamps, because they ain't getting no money. So they selling food stamps for half.
They get their hair done and their nails done with the food stamps.
Why shouldn't they, Travis? If listen, Travis, I love you like a step cousin. If Deb has my child, how happy and healthy can my child be if Deb ain't happy? See, and men keep overlooking that. And if getting her hair make her happy, guess who that happiness translates over to?
You.
No, it translates over to the child.
No, it translates to you because
no, it does not. As long as Deb is happy that she can do stuff, Deb ain't got a whole lot of bad stuff to say about me because Deb is happy. When we start nitpicking and telling them what they should and shouldn't do while we over here, that translates into negativity. See, we feed this negative monster. We feed, Deb, come on and say something. We feed this negative monster. But when she can get her hair done and do whatever, she's a happy camper. One of the girls I tried to get on the show, she was like Trina. She stopped, I was on the show with her. She stopped in the middle of the show because she said the show was on a Tuesday. Her child's father called and said, could he come get their daughter and keep her for a few hours so she could go hang out? She ain't got nothing bad to say about their brother. She said he can come over anytime he wants to and he will pop up after calling and get their child whenever. She don't care because he allows her to go out and still do stuff so she don't get bogged down with babysitting their child. You see the story, I'm gonna say the story about the mother who wanted to commit suicide because she wasn't prepared to be a single parent. She thought that they was gonna have this beautiful life together. Now she's parenting by herself. Babies take a toll on you. Men don't know nothing about this. Children take a toll on you. Women get frustrated. Women, we drive.
What'd you say, Travis?
I said, I was a baby.
Yeah, but you ain't have to take care of baby.
Yes, I did.
Whatever.
By yourself. By yourself. Without any assistance. You were the person that got up during the middle of the night. You were the person that had to go to the hospital if the kid got sick, and you had to ride that, make that that longest mile, 100 mile by yourself.
No, not by myself, but I've had to do it.
Okay, but see,
no, I would never.
As a single parent,
from the parents,
as a single parent, and I'm gonna throw the audit in. So, full disclosure, at one time I did welfare, just for a minute. Okay, just for a quick minute, because my ex-husband decided that when we divorced, he divorced the kid. And when he divorced the kid, that meant no child support, nothing. I had a full-time job. I was working, I could, but I needed that to just get me over. And it was a plan. You're going to do this for this amount of time, and then you're going to cut this off, okay? Because that was not my MO. I did it for that amount of time, and I cut it off, okay? This kid, I got child support from him until my daughter was 30 years old. And the reason why is because he didn't feel like he had to pay child support. He didn't think he had to pay child support. So if there's anybody listening today, trust me when I say, if you got them on child support and they don't pay, your child will be full grown and you'll still be getting a child support check. And so, back to what Darren was saying, when he jumps in or is willing to be committed to being a part of this equation in any kind of way. And I used to tell my ex-husband, you don't even have to pay child support. Come get him. Come spend time with her. From 0 to 6, she was connected to him at the hip. But the day we divorced, we divorced, and he divorced her. And I used to have to beg him, come get her. Just take her somewhere. Take her to get some ice cream. Okay? And so that's what Darren is referencing when he says that about the mother saying, you know what? If he call and say he coming to get her, I'm going to make sure that she's available. And that and I'm going to make sure that he gets a chance to spend. But what happens is with that disconnect and not having those conversations, you get what you get.
And that's all I'm saying, Travis. We keep saying certain things, and that's why I did a whole show on nothing but child support and why men should pay without asking questions. Because when that baby is sick in the middle of the night, and Deb got to stay up with the baby all night long, but she still got to go to work in the morning because she can't call in because she's not salaried. What am I doing? Because now she done lost a day of pay. Who's gonna compensate her for that? Not welfare, not me, because she already ain't getting nothing from me. So anytime the dad can do something to make the mother happy, it rolls over to the child. But we can't be so selfish and keep thinking, oh, she getting a come up. She ain't getting a come up. She ain't. I know dads who won't get the kid if the kid is sick, because when you get the child for your parental visitation, and I forgot I ain't supposed to call it visitation because that's what inmates do. All we want to do is play. We're not doing homework. We're not finding out what restrictions they on and keep on their restrictions to supplement what the mother is doing. So then the child ends up liking the other parent because that's who they get to play with, because they're not living a real life. They live in a fairy tale world. So why don't we want the mother to be extremely happy with our child? The happier she is, the better off our child is. But as Dale said, we quick to divorce the child, and then we put them into a system and we'll blame the system. Deb didn't want to be on welfare. That's why she got off of it. But when he leave her with nothing, what is she supposed to do? Welfare didn't break up the family. The person who didn't want to pay their end no more because they wasn't getting 2 sets of goods is who is the one that's walking out. And as men, we got to stop more men from feeling like it's okay to do that. And you know, Travis, me and you had this conversation, and I'm going to stick to my number. If you ain't paying at least $500, you got no right to complain, because where she stay is important. Because if I ain't giving no money, she can't just get a job anywhere, because when the baby's sick, I ain't going to help her. So every time she misses a day of pay, so now she got to stay in substandard housing, something she can regularly afford, because she don't know when we going to do something. See, so a lot of this men contribute to. So some of these women I can't even blame for being bitter when I know who the father is. I had him, one of my relatives, and I blamed her. She was married to she had a baby I got at the sheriff's department that I was upset with. So he showed me his check. He sent her $500 a month, 500, the magic number. She got put out the projects because she wasn't paying nothing. How you 6 months behind on rent when I know what he giving you, but she was telling all us he wasn't getting it? See, she was a toxic mother. We had to have a long talk about what she was doing. And sometimes you just got to slap people into reality. And that's why when people give me stories, I always say, tell me who, give me the whole story. Because don't tell me what you heard, because people will tell us what they want to hear. So we need to be able to get into both sides to figure out, is it toxicity? Is it hatred? Is it ignorance? Because until somebody explained child support to me, I was ignorant about it. I felt like most men, oh, she doing this. Oh, she living high and hard. Well, she done got a new car. Well, damn, when I think about it, don't I want the mother of my child to have a dependable car to get my child back and forth? When I think about it. Now, to me and Deb's friend, I had a wife who wasn't okay with me seeing my child whenever I wanted to. I moved close to him so I could see him and get him, because I start understanding. Let me come get my child in the middle of the week. I stay close to where he go to school, and I can take him to school. She was so controlling, she didn't want to have none of that. She knew what my job was. She wanted me to have visitation when she knew I was working. As bitter as I could have been, I was bitter, but only towards her, because I realized she was an anomaly. Most women are like Trina. Most women are like Deb. Most women would rather you come get your child and pay child support if they got a choice, because then it allows them the freedom to relax their mind, go out and have fun, get a job if they need to. But shit, they want to be able to call and say, hey, the baby's sick. They'd be like, okay, don't worry about it, I got it. That takes pressure off of her. Because like I said, when she miss work, who gonna make up that lost income? So who
and
is
Travis,
it that,
you did say, go ahead, I'm sorry.
What you say, Dale?
Travis did say, but some things are generational.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend that says, and I thought this was so profound, you know, when it comes to us females, who's the coach? Who's coaching? And sometimes that generational coaching from the generational curses will equal to what we have going on now. Who's the coach? And that's what you have to ask. Who's the coach? Who's coaching us to do and act like we act? So Travis, some things are generational. I agree with that.
And that's where the village plays a part. When we know people, we don't know people are looking, we got to show them a better way. You know, it's crazy sometimes when me and Trina used to be out in public somewhere and we walk and holding hands and somebody walk up and say, oh, I love to see young people holding hands. I'm thinking, who y'all talking to? One of us ain't young. So I'm thinking Trina holding somebody else's hand on the side. But they like to see that generational problem being passed on. You know, and this is where we have to take the emotions out of the system sometimes to learn how to regulate them. And because guys don't want to admit to being emotional, but their emotions be on extremes a lot of time. All right, so Bishop said he was a good daddy. He was a better daddy than anything I could have ever been. I was made to be a father. Bring me my child. And you know what, Bishop, I'm gonna say this. For my first 2 marriages, I was a better father than I was a husband. I was meant to be a protector and a provider. But if I'm speaking honestly, what I was not meant to do was to raise children on my own. If I got to make some money or if I got to provide a way, there ain't too many people who are better at it than me. But the first time when my wife was at work and my daughter wanted me to give her a bath, she's like, you're not gonna sit here and talk to me? I'm trying to sit and talk. And she's like, okay, mommy says when I wash up underneath, I gotta do this. I'm stuck. I don't know what to say. I'm panicking. I'm calling my wife. Hey, she wiping down there. What am I supposed to do? I wasn't prepared for that. I was prepared to be a provider and a protector. I wasn't prepared to be a stay-at-home dad. And that's what we got to know our roles and appreciate them. And as a collective, let people do what they do. And you ain't got to be the master of everything. Just know what can and can't be done. And as we recognize these generational curses, we got to set forth a way to break them. Because once we see them and acknowledge them, then that should be the easy part. What did G.I. Joe say? Knowing is half the battle. And that's why we don't do it. And we don't have uncomfortable conversations enough where we can sit back and admit our faults. We don't sit down and have a conversation where we can say, hey, we learn from other people. Because everybody gonna make a mistake. I could tell you a solution to a problem that worked for me and Trina, but it may not work for you and your wife. But you gotta have enough common sense to say, well, my wife ain't like that, and know how to adjust my solution to where it may work for you. And too many times somebody tell us something and we take it word for word and we try to follow it, but we ain't doing it with the same person. We ain't doing it with the same person. And then we got different results and then we get mad at the other person. But we got to sit back and let go of the protective identity issues we got. We got to let go of generational curses, and we got to let go of myths that we don't understand. Everybody think that their grandparents was loyal to the end of time. And they weren't. But they don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that harsh reality. But what they had was grandparents who weren't going to be messy and talk like we talk. You know, when I look at kids now, Travis, you brought up earlier, the respect level. And is it regional? Is it generational? You know, I say sir to everybody. I say ma'am to everybody. It don't matter how old or young they are. But everybody don't do it. People from up north are notorious for not doing it. They're not being disrespectful. They never were taught Southern hospitality.
It's cultural.
Is it?
Not regional, it's cultural. It's an identity problem. We don't have an identity anymore. Well, we don't.
We don't want to recognize. See, Deb is my friend. I think. I'm gonna say yeah, because she's scared of my mama, so she's gonna say yeah. But when I told Deb what I needed from her, because of her expertise that was on it. See, I can sit here and try to BS you, but why should I BS you if I got a psychologist and who deals with children? Why not use that to my advantage? See, this is part of my village. Travis is part of my village. When I got something that I don't know, as opposed to sitting there and telling lies and running my way through it, why not get other people? Why not get people who have a different thought process so that people who don't think like either one of us know that they're not unicorns? Somebody may agree with me, somebody may agree with you, somebody may agree with them, but now they know somebody else thinks like them. And too many times I think people try to act like, you know, I hate the memes when they say, oh, ain't no man gonna want this, ain't no woman gonna want that. Stop. What Travis like ain't gotta be what D like. So Travis can say, hey, Travis don't like small women. Travis can't say, oh, don't no man want a skinny woman, because that's a dumb statement, but that's what both sexes try to get into. And then we pass it on, or what we don't do, we don't realize what we did growing up. We overheard our parents doing stuff. Our kids over here is doing stuff. Oh, I don't never talk bad in front of my kids. They wake up at 2 in the morning and hear you cussing like a sailor. And they pick that up and take it. And we don't do that. We won't learn. And, you know, I always got to think, I hate arguing in front of kids. They gonna know we're gonna argue, but if they over here, it's fine, but let's not argue while they woke. Let's play this role. Is it being fake? Of course it is, but it's for the betterment. It's for the betterment. We can have disagreements, but you know, when them knockdown dragouts come on, the kids don't need to see that. Oh, it's part of life, they need to see everything. No, they don't. No,
that's not being fake. That's not letting them in your business, because your argument is not part of their business. Right. That's not being fake.
But they shouldn't have to pick a side.
Huh?
They shouldn't have to pick a side.
No, they should not have to pick a side, and they should not know. You know, of course, they may overhear it, but when you invite them into your conversation, I know an individual right now who bashes her husband, but she bashes her husband to her teenage son. And I asked her, I said, what's the purpose? What's the purpose? I said, you know, what you're doing is you are creating a firestorm that's eventually going to backfire on you, because number one, he's looking at his dad and then he's listening to you, but you're not requiring anything of the teenager that you don't require from your husband. For instance, when my son was 11 and 12, it's time for you to learn how to take the trash out, point blank.
Cut the grass.
Cut the grass, bag up the leaves, do something, okay? And I had to tell her when he was 12, I said, why are you still taking the dumpster? You got a husband and a son. And I wasn't making no big deal out of it, but you got a husband and a son and you work overnight. Why are you taking the dumpster? Oh, I got it. No, you need to be teaching him. And so in the battering of the dad to the son, I said to her, so what's your purpose in you bashing the dad to your son? What's the purpose? Because your son lives in the house. He sees everything that you all go through. He sees everything that's happening, okay? Now, whether they get in arguments, I don't know. But the bottom line is you're creating a whole nother situation with this teenager in the midst of you being upset with your husband because he has not lived up to your standard. And so when you argue in front of them, when you do it, no, it's not being fake. It's keeping them out of adult business so that you and your mate can handle whatever it is you all have going on.
True that, because it ain't for everybody. And this is one of the things my ex told my kids. She said, if you agree with him, that means you don't love me.
Mm.
And I didn't know that till one of them told me later on in life. But you know, I understood her mentality after everything. And I told him, always take your mother's side. She can't process right from wrong. All she knows is either you on my side or you against me. And that used to bother me. And when people say, oh, why you didn't do this? Because I know I don't want my kids to go through that mental anguish that she's going to put them through. And if I'm being honest, I knew I was not a good single father. So I chose to remove myself till they were of age, because trying to go through a custody battle with them still living with her while I was going through, to me, it wasn't worth the pain I was going to put them through. And that's one of them things where she's like, oh, I'm going to fight for the kid. Well, if you know you got a toxic parent, you got to be prepared for your kid to get some of that poison that's going to come off during the court battle. So what decision do you make as a good father? Do you not hurt your kids, or do you go for custody, knowing that they're in the middle of that battle either way it goes? Because there are very few custody battles that are fair or decent, because it's about making somebody look bad. So what do you do? What do you do when that happens? How do you fight that, Dr. Deb?
You can't.
In our last 6 minutes.
You can't fight that, because at the end of the day, it's just like, it's collective. It's between us. It's between you and I. It's between us. It's because I'm upset with you. I'm mad at you. And unfortunately, our children bear the brunt of what's going on. If I bash you, then our children are going to look at you in a different way. If you bash me, then our children are going to look at me in a different way. And so that goes back to that collective thing that I said. It's all of us. It's all of us. Okay.
And we have to start planning, and we have to start having open and honest conversations about this. And and I'm sorry, we have to start having uncomfortable conversations about this, because part of the traps, I'm with you. We can't keep blaming the other party. All these battles. If the woman ain't shit, hey, the man gotta take responsibility. You planted your seed and ain't shit woman. Take some of that responsibility. We can't keep saying we didn't know. You didn't know, but just say, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm gonna learn from this. I ain't gonna keep doing it. But how do you ease the pain of that mistake? Do I try to spend more time with my child? And and I said, this is where we need the law, because sometimes we do need some of the systems to change. I'm in a group about fathers in custody, and you can't keep getting mad at everything. What's going on, Antoinette? We got to start planning. We got to start planning ways to get around it, as opposed to spending time arguing about it. We've acknowledged this problem exists. Now, what's the best thing Sheriff Barrett ever said? Don't come to me with problems, because anybody can find them. If you don't have a solution, keep it to yourself. So when you tell me a problem, offer me some ways to fix it. And I believe that should be our marching order, because we can look and pick each other's life apart all day long. But some of us living a bad life, because for some people, bad is the best they can do right now. I can't compare everybody to how me and Trina living. Deb can't compare everybody to how she living. You got to put people where they are. When I said, don't judge a man until you walk a mile in his shoes. Sometimes a bad decision is the best decision.
We have to learn how to communicate.
And we got to learn to be more empathetic and understand that everybody ain't where we are. Some things that the three of us have learned, it took a hardship for us to be that smart. It took a hardship. So we can't take that from people. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
The communication is all fine and well. We don't have a problem with communication. It's that hard conversation that Brother Bell was talking about. You're going to have it. And that means you can, first of all, it's got to start internal. It's got to start in your household. It's got to start with you, your children. Then you can kind of branch out into the community and have that hard conversation in the community. If we can see what's going wrong, and we can find solutions to fixing it, especially with this whole interpersonal communication thing, conflict resolution thing, that to me seems like it's the critical thing that we have to do. Too many damn shootings. It's just in Atlanta alone, Metro Atlanta alone. It's too damn many shootings over some of the dumbest stuff. Let's just call it what it is. These folks don't own no property. They don't have they're not millionaires. They ain't got nothing. They're actually fighting over nothing. Nothing.
But, and see, where have we ever been taught? And I did a show, and I'm gonna do another one about why men are emotional. Where have we ever been taught to rationalize. We don't realize that violence is an emotional thing. We want to shoot, we want to fight. We don't know how to talk. You know, and I asked the question before, and Deb, I'm gonna let you answer this before we get ready to close out. When women cry, they can get together and cry to each other. Men cannot cry to each other. It's still unaccepted. I mean, we may, where do we learn to do this so that it's healthy and accepted? Because without that, every time men do something, the first thing we know to do that's universally accepted is violence. Somebody says, oh, you shouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
But how do we? You know, I had a guy call me, Facebook friends. He made a post that let me know something was wrong because I recognized some of the key words. 4 hours later, well, Buddy was crying on the phone. Hell, I was crying on the phone. That's not normal for us. And we have to learn that it's okay, but where do we find that safe haven? And that's a hard thing. So when men learn that, when we make that the norm, we're going to get better because women can do it. They can cry all the time. And they got girlfriends who are going to be the girl, it's going to be all right. Dudes, when we cry, we want to go have sex, go to the strip club. We don't have ways to get through that and ways to talk about it and how do we vent, you know, other than, you know, if your mama died, everybody with you. But if it's just simple frustration, who do you talk to? How do you talk to them?
You made a statement, Travis, about having the hard conversations. Let me tell you what the problem is in most communication. People don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. They want to say something after you say something, okay? So the communication starts with picking one thing, because the interpersonal effectiveness cannot start unless that person understands and realizes they have a problem. And most people don't understand they have a problem. When you cannot work inside of your relationships, you can't work on you because you don't think you're the problem. You think that the next person is the problem, okay? So let's pick one. Let's pick a topic. Let's pick a hard topic and go from the hard topic and say, okay, this is what we're gonna start with. Maybe it's teaching people how to work into personal effectiveness. Maybe it's teaching people how, on a forum like this, conflict resolution. Maybe it's teaching people how to communicate, to listen, to understand, and not to respond. Okay? But pick one. We pick one, and then the next time we pick another one, and then the next time we pick another one. Because until we can do that, I tell my clients, it's like that little guinea pig being on that treadmill, that little wheel is just gonna keep going round and round and round and round and round, and nothing's gonna change. Nothing.
And I'm gonna say this, one of the biggest problems with us is whenever leaders come talk to us, we listen to what they say. But until they talk about putting affordable mental health care facilities in our neighborhoods, everything we do is worthless. I mean, I hear all the stuff we need, but if we don't make healthcare affordable and convenient, we ain't gonna never get no better. But all the woke people want to talk about is other stuff. We want more taxes, we want student loans, and I hear you, those are all cute, but they don't make us better people. Mental health is a big issue, and people say they starting to understand it now, and even when you understand it, who do you talk to? Travis, me and you can vent and talk to each other. We can talk to, and I'm gonna take Deb about the picture now. But who can give us a plan for success on how to deal with it? When I got diagnosed with depression, I have to give my therapist a lot of credit. She gave me things to deal with. When I'm telling other people that whole time is BS, prayer is BS, and all them other home remedies, they are BS. You need to give me something legitimate, give it to God, that works for me. Oh, just pray it away. Hell, I didn't pray for it, so why I gotta pray it away? That shit, yeah, make it. And without mental health facilities in our neighborhoods where we can get to, yeah, we at a stage now, we had jobs and careers, we can go now. But when we back in the hood days, when shit is stressful to us, to our parents, where was there for us to go? The school counselors ain't prepared for it. Resource officers damn sure ain't. Police officers, as much as they have to do, they not prepared for it. So when we're talking about being a better collective without that mental health facility availability and affordability, everything else is, to me, just peeing in the wind. Because nobody wants to discuss that. It's cute to keep building fucking parks. We don't need no more parks. Kids ain't going to the parks in mass, no way. They stand in the house and playing PlayStation. But their parents need help. Their fathers need help. Their mothers need help. They can only diagnose so many people. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this because it's 7:59. So I'm gonna bring some resources, some mental health resources that people can reach out to. Okay, that's because you're right. In our community, you know, it's stigmatized. Mental health is stigmatized. I ain't crazy, ain't nothing wrong with me, and you know doggone well it is. And so I'll bring some resources the next time we come back. Okay, so Deb, give out your information if anybody want to shoot you a question or got anything they want to ask you, if you want to share. I'm on Facebook. It's Deborah Latson, Ladson, Latson. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Instagram. I don't have time. So you can always hit me up on Facebook. And she's a great source of information. Like I say, you know, I have to work on her time, but when I ask her to put it out there, she put it out there, and she does a lot with kids, which is why me and Travis at that stage now, you know, it sucks, but we might be too old to help. But we got to start on the generation coming. So I'm looking for help for kids and for parents to know how to deal with kids. So that's what's up with that. And as always, Dr. Deb, I appreciate it. Travis, tell them one more time about your show and how you like to start shit.
Yeah, I wish you could quit saying that.
I'm sorry, how you like to start bovine manure. Is that better, sir?
Bovine manure.
Bovine manure.
I know where you work. I'll see you later. The show is called The Point with Travis G. Evans. It's on every Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys check it out. I'm on it. The group is actually called The Point with Travis G. Evans. I have a couple of great co-hosts, Mark Scotton and Tyrone K. Dunmore. I got these guys on my show. We do a Zoom every Tuesday night. So like I said, guys, come on by. And if it's okay with you, Dr. Deb, I'm going to send you my information and friend you, because I know I've seen you around that jail. More than likely.
Yeah.
Do that, please.
Mark actually stopped in, Travis. Of course, I'm your host, DVP. This is Random Thoughts, where we like to have uncomfortable conversations. We're going to push some more of them. We're going to talk about these generational curses. Bishop Robert Lee Humphreys, if you ever call me, we could get to this, but you don't ever call me, but that's a whole nother story. So call me in 10 minutes. I'm going to be off the show. But if it's something you guys want to talk about, let's have it. You know, but we can't keep having just where we just glazing over conversations. Let's talk about some real stuff. But Dr. Deb is going to educate you. Travis is going, you know, he going to yank you on your emotional strain. DVP going to call you out when he call you out. And remember, we don't have to agree. We just have to be respectful and bring point. Your feelings only matter to you and your mama. That's it. Give us some logical stuff to deal with and give us some solutions. So until next week, y'all know what it is.
And come to understand.
Say it again.
Come to understand. Come to understand.
Yeah. Come to understand that, you know, everybody got different experiences, and that's how they base their life on what they've experienced. All right, Robert, I'm gonna shoot you my number in the inbox. But until next week, I want to thank Dr. Deb. I want to thank my boy Bovine Manure Travis and everybody who stopped in and said something. So until next time, peace, popcorn, and chicken grease. And we out.